Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Eureka Springs Hospital Commission, regular meeting for February 20th, 2023 to order. You all have received copies of the minutes of the January 16th, 2023 meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We sent you out copies of the agenda. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to the agenda? I have one. I typed February 4th for the next workshop, and it's March 4th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Oh,
Make a motion.
So second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Any other changes? All in favor say aye. Motion carries. We don't have any public tonight, so we won't have any public comments. We don't have a committee report. I'm going to cover something in one of the other agenda items a little bit later, but I don't have a committee report. And I think all of our other committees are just non-existent. So, Mike, do you have anything you want to talk about on the hospital expansion?
I'll just jump in real quick to say that the architects are on the finishing schedules with interior design with staff. They're coming to the close on that. The information that we discussed last month, this information has been passed to construction manager, which you'll see later in the agenda that's up for proposal.
Thank you.
Any questions? We'll have more to say about that, I'm sure, at the workshop on the 4th. CEO Shaw, do you have a report for us tonight?
I do. All right, which I did hand out a copy of my report as well as the marketing report. I'll just start at the beginning and hit on the highlights. Just regarding COVID-19, in the past, well, since our last meeting in January, we've had 4 positive cases out of 95 tests, so we continue to see a decline there. President Biden's administration had announced that the COVID emergency declarations will end on May 11th. As of right now, we haven't seen any changes at federal level towards our reporting, but we are seeing changes at state level. Regarding clinical services, we are still seeking a full-time pharmacist. We have conducted a few interviews, but we have not made any choices at this time. As for clinical patients or staff patient or patient days, our daily census has been low in January. It was also low in December. Our swing bed director is reaching out to other facilities to let them know that we do have swing beds available for rehab patients, as well as looking at other services we may be able to offer for the community. The ER, we did see an increase in emergency room patients in January compared to last year. Actually, that increase has been, looking back at past Januaries for the past 5 years, we've seen more patients this year than we had before. Our admit percentage from the ER was 12% for the month. Our goal has always been set at 8%, so we were above goal for that. Business operations, there were 2 issues in January that has kind of caused some delays within our billing. One was regarding capturing supplies, supply charges and encoding. Our EMR was lacking at dropping the charges in the system as it was supposed to. And thanks to Cynthia, Bree, and Savannah, they have worked on creating some workarounds to make sure that we're capturing all those. Unfortunately, it did cause a delay in bills going out. That was only temporarily until they got them back up and going about a week ago. So we will hopefully not see that happen again. And then a second issue that affected our financing, of course, during the snow and ice storms, when they hit the last few weeks there in January, there was a power surge that occurred multiple times over a few minutes, which caused our generator to surge, and it damaged our main server as well as all of our backups from each of those surges. We did get the parts. We got it up and running. It was only down approximately 3 days, but it was trying to get all that caught back up. And we had to switch to paper charging during that time and paper charting. And so all of that has now had to been switched over back to electronic, which has been a delay. On a positive note, we did hire a central supply manager. She started on February 6th and is still new and working through training with Bree. And then just on another note, in the first week of February, I did attend the Rural Health Policy Institute in Washington, D.C. It was a great experience. I was able to network with a lot of our local rural hospital CEOs as well. And then we spent an entire day going and meeting with our Arkansas senators and congressmen and their staff members to discuss what issues we are currently facing in our own communities. We were able to discuss, funding and grants and where we would like to see those come available and where we would like to be able to use them. Of course, I brought up our older facility and how we need to move forward with that. And actually that was on a lot of the other CEOs' minds as well. They are kind of all in the same boat as we are with older facilities that are looking for grants and funding to help with that. I will also be attending the Arkansas Hospital Association CEO meeting tomorrow in Little Rock at the Capitol to continue to discuss these multiple issues that we discussed in Washington, D.C. Our HIM director, Bree, and her coding staff have worked diligently to get us back online and get coding updated and billing current. And with everything that happened, she was able to accomplish that, even being 2 people down in her apartment. So the only update I have with maintenance currently is that they did get the floor replaced in the kitchen. It did make a huge difference in their space and work area and safety-wise as well. And then just a general note, as I noted, January had thrown some punches at us, and I'm so proud of the way our team pulled together to ensure our patients received the care that they needed. Just some of our staff made a difference. With the ice and snow on, delivery trucks weren't able to make it, so our staff was going and making grocery runs for our kitchen. So we had food on the shelves and milk, and we had staff or their families going and picking up other staff members that couldn't get out because their cars just couldn't make it. As well as, of course, we had a group of staff that stayed the entire time in-house to make up when other staff couldn't make it in. And of course, I want to mention Terry, our maintenance guy. He went out and cleared our parking lot by hand because we couldn't get our usual ice and snow remover there because they couldn't even get out. So January was interesting. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward and hope for warm weather, but again, I'm very proud of the team we have and how they pulled together. And I did attach Samantha's marketing report, just a couple of things. She is about to finish updating our new website, so you guys might be careful. She's out taking pictures of everyone to get on there, so she may hunt y'all down too. Also, she's already starting on Hospital Week, which is usually the first week in May. It's scheduled May 7th through the 13th. And then I noticed she put on here one of the things I'm very excited about, which is the Rotary Club's Catfish Fry fundraiser. So
Where does that happen?
I'm ready for that. The catfish fry. It's at.
It's at Taggart Insurance drive-through. You pull through it and pick it up as you go through.
Just a drive-through,
Yeah,
okay.
and it starts this Friday.
This Friday, it's every
Yeah.
other Friday through Lent. So,
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Any questions for me?
anybody got anything for Angie?
Thank you.
Thanks, Angie. Mr. Bill, we didn't do a test. Can you hear us?
I can hear y'all fine. What about me?
I can hear you just fine.
Very good. All right, well, let's look at our financial situation. On the first page, we have our bank balances as of 1/31. You'll note 2.9 million. That's a decrease from December of 321,000. And this speaks to Angie's comments about our billing and how that's holding up claims, and we're not able to get stuff out the door. I remind you that even if we got a clean claim out the door to Medicare, they're going to hold it for 14 days before they pay it. And I was looking at, to kind of put it in perspective, our billed accounts receivable at the end of January is 59.6 days. Going back to September, those were 71 days. Our in-house days were 18.9. That's meaning they were uncoded, unbilled. And just, and those were like 9 days back in September. So an increase of about 10 days, that's $360,000. That's probably about $200,000 to us. So that's a lot of what's going on. The other part of what's going on, I'm almost ready to complete and file the 2022 Medicare Medicaid cost report. We are early, but we are owed money, so I want to get our rates adjusted and get the money that we are owed, and I'm estimating that to be north of $350,000. So a goodly sum, so that makes up for our cash position erosion. And I will point out, again, from the end of January until today, another 249,000. So our cash position has dwindled just in the last few months. That's brought about by the problem that Angie mentioned. Also that we've had low revenue months for November, December, and January, and not much better in February. So it's been a tough patch for us, if you will. Our revenue, gross revenue for the month, $1,118,000, is $6,000 less than last month, and it's 16.5% lower than last year comparative to the same month. I've been wondering about this because it's not just our hospital, it's my other hospitals as well. And as it would happen, on Sunday in the Democrat Gazette, an article was published talking about the plight of hospitals across the country. And this was published in the New York Times, and it mentioned the fact that a lot of people are having to make they're putting off health care. They want to keep the lights going, they want to pay their rent or house payment, and they want to put food on the table. And, food, clothing, shelter before they get to their bills. And health care brings along in the form of co-insurance and deductibles if they're not full self-pay. Could be a tough sled, so they're having to make decisions. And there was mention in this article that people last year, they would only make a decision on health care like 20% of the time. That's up to 40% people deferring health care and putting it aside. So I found that article very interesting. Our income statement on the next page reflects our loss in January, $396,000. Our net patient revenues off $140,000. Our expenses were up $147,000 as compared to the same month last year. So you can see where the loss came from. Our balance sheet pretty much as it was the prior month. You can see the decrease in cash being the biggest change to that. And some of that cash was spent reducing our accounts payable. That decreased $79,000. So those are the comments that I have. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I am concerned. I think we're all concerned that we're seeing this, but we are owed some money by Medicare and Medicaid. They will adjust our rates, and we will go forward from there, and that will alleviate some of the stress, but we'll get this billing problem. I know that Cynthia was in the middle of it and we were talking about it at the end of last week, and she's working the system, as we say, keeping everybody fully engaged and trying to get that money in the door as soon as possible.
I noticed February was real down last year too, so I mean, that was the lowest month we occurred, so this is probably not going to correct itself this month. So it's, because I can't imagine, we spent 2 weeks where people, even if they needed to go to the hospital, a lot of them couldn't have gotten there, so.
That is true.
Right. And it's kind of hard to load the CT machine up and the X-ray machine and go around and take pictures while, at home service, so we can't do that.
Any questions for Bill?
And
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, we couldn't have gotten to them anyway, so it's a horrible situation.
Yep. Any questions? Thank you, Bill.
Thank y'all.
Now we've got, this looks a lot more ominous than it is, but I sent you copies of most of this stuff before the workshop last time, and we didn't have the workshop, and it's pretty routine for what we're going through right now, and I'll explain briefly and then see if we can get some motions. First thing is an important one because we have already received the money from the assets purchase agreement, so we've already received the $3.6 million from the asset purchase agreement. We as a commission now need to have a resolution saying we approve of all of those activities that took place that we approved of the asset purchase agreement and that we approved of the ultimate sale. This is just a technicality that we have to go through because of our bylaws to in fact make sure that we have signed off on the sale of those. So I would entertain a motion to approve, and I sent a copy of that resolution around, approve a resolution affirming the sale, not confirming, affirming the sale.
We've already got the money?
We've already got the money.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the sale.
Do I have a second? Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item we've been working on for several months now. We finally have a construction manager that we think is that our consultants and Mike and I, who have spent more time, think is the appropriate construction manager to have. It again is like everything else. If we halt stuff, payments halt, but we have an agreement that we need to sign to bring the construction manager on board so that we can actually get all of the details confirmed. They've done a lot already. They actually went through and have repriced the entire project again, just waiting for us to approve this. So I would entertain a motion to approve the AIA agreement with it's Clark Construction LLC.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Clark Construction LLC.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have discussion or questions? Okay. That's good, because that's where we were going to spend most of our time at the last workshop was talking about this. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is one that we've also been talking about for a long time. We finally have it took the architects some time to find us a geotech. But we need, as we talked about probably 3 months ago, we need to have initial geotechnical work done in order to make sure that we can do exactly what we say we want to do on the land that exists there. They've come back with that, and they're come back with a lump sum amount of $9,975, which, to be honest with you, I was amazed at. I thought it would
What is
probably
that
be
amount again?
$9,975. I thought it would be double that. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the expenditure of that $9,975,000 so that geotechnical work can take place.
So moved.
Do I have a
And I'll
second?
second.
Any discussion? They're going to drill, I think, 11 holes? Isn't that what I
believe so.
Yeah, they're going to drill 11 holes around
What
the,
kind of depth are they going to go to?
probably as far as they could go on some of them, because some of them they probably won't be going. They'll take core samples and then take them out.
And really, the only holdup that we had along the way was knowing the load ratings for the structure itself. That's the only thing that held us up along the way, but once we got that, it moved really quick, so.
Great.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 12 is what I was referring to a minute ago that I was going to talk about in the finance, even though it's not so much a finance issue. It has come to, while MedHost is doing an excellent job, not an excellent job, MedHost is doing an adequate job of our accounting. Angie has brought it to my attention that there are numerous weaknesses within MedHost. Well, not only weaknesses, they're failures. We had to ask for a variance on our CMS reporting last year, which is our Medicare reporting. We're going to have to ask for that again this year because the MedHost system will not provide it. We've inquired as to MedHost as to when they thought those updates would be available so that we could provide that information, and the answer is unknown. That has led us to the conclusion that we need to evaluate another system. There's a couple that we have in mind in order to do that. Anybody that's listened to me, primarily Barbara, would have told you that I was dead set against it because I'm not jumping into putting our staff through a conversion. We have found some solutions to this CMS issue that will mitigate that. In order for us to investigate that further, we need commission approval to investigate that. It's not going to cost us anything at this point, but we also need commission approval to sign some non-disclosure agreements so that we can really understand what these systems will help us do. So with that in mind, I bring this tonight. I would have waited to discuss it, but it has created some level of urgency. Angie needs to move forward in getting those non-disclosure agreements signed and start to look at alternatives to this. So I would entertain, for discussion, I would entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to consider alternatives for MedHost to let Angie move forward with this, to find out where we can get stronger and with the MedHost system.
And we need to add in non-disclosure agreements.
Non-disclosure
We need to sign some
agreements.
non-disclosure.
And we need to sign some non-disclosure.
Sorry,
We'll get there.
that's all right. Do I have, okay, now ask all the questions you want to ask.
Okay, so I have a question. Is this a complete software overhaul that would be required? Now, does this require a lot of hardware, or can it work on the current system we have?
That's what we need to investigate. Their system, they host, and so it would not be a server in our, like what we have now with MedHost, it's a server in-house. So they actually would host from their space, so it's kind of cloud-based.
And
So
I had a conversation with him this afternoon. That's one of the vendors this afternoon. And once we got to the nitty-gritty part, is when they said, well, we'll talk to you about that if you sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Makes sense.
So consequently, the network causes me some concerns. We don't have to have physical computers, but we need to understand what the network would do.
You mean the network, the off-board, the out-of-town network?
No,
Our network.
how we connect in
Right.
to all the things that need to be connected in, because this is not so much about finance, okay? This is not accounting. If it was accounting, I would be a little less worried about it. This is about how we handle our operations and how the operations are integrated so that we can provide the appropriate reporting back to CMS, which we can't do at this point. So talking about hospital equipment that needs to be connected and different things like that. In the long run, it'll make us a lot more efficient if we can stand to do it. And
Are we losing charges of any sort right now with the system we have? Okay.
the fact is they won't give us waivers forever.
Yeah. CMS won't.
So the answers
that's-
to these questions really will be provided after we've signed their
The answer
non-disclosure.
to
Then
these
they'll tell us
questions,
everything we
what
want to
we're
know.
asking, what the commission needs to evaluate tonight is, do we want to move forward and start to investigate this? Because we have not. And we need to see whether it's physically possible. And financially, physically and financially possible. We're not there yet. There's one system that a lot of rural networks are using. That's why I wanted to have a conversation with one of them, because, when you have a sales team is always really good at giving you the best view of everything. Everything looks wonderful. And then when I started asking questions about contracts and about how they did updates and she said, I really can't talk about that to you without a non-disclosure.
It would be good to find out from other places that are using it. I mean,
We're-
if they're 2 years in, then they know more than we do, obviously, so. But definitely opening up disclosure.
Yeah, I mean, we don't lose anything except nobody can talk about it that sees it. And, but it's my opinion that the commission needs to make that approval. And this is also a method of getting out to our constituency that we are looking at this. I'm not a guy that likes to do anything in secret.
Does
Right.
Bill have any connections to the Batesville Hospital? And could find out, even though they're larger than Eureka, just more minds together? Bill, do you have any contacts
Well-
at the Batesville Hospital?
One of his
Yes.
facilities is actually is starting to use this system.
Is it the one that I was talking about with Cynthia?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Are we not allowed to mention the name out loud yet? Is that what we're saying?
No, we're
No.
not, because we need to investigate more than one. Okay?
Okay. Well, I have two on my plate. And one of the group we're talking about, they're in South Arkansas. They have currently and have been using one group for 20 years. And they are migrating to the other group. And it's a cloud-based system. It seems to be very interesting. We have had a meeting through Zoom with another hospital that was almost a direct overlay of the operations of this hospital in South Arkansas. And we were the company was not involved. It was merely the group there on the ground at that hospital. We had a very frank discussion with them for about an hour and a half. And it was very interesting, and some of the comments and how easy it was and everything. And it's just, I think it's going to be, again, we were forced into a situation where the support that we were getting from the existing company just wasn't adequate, so.
It's exactly
That's
the
exactly what we
same
have.
thing we face here. It may be, if we do this evaluation, we may find that there is no other vendor that can help us. And if that's the case, it would be a sole source. But that's what we need to look at. I mean, it's trust me, Angie knows this. They had to go a long way to convince me to even consider this, so, but they've done that. So, and because I've gone through too many conversions in my life, and I'm just not, they're not pleasant. But this one, on the surface, and if there's one, there's probably 2 or 3 others, on the surface appears to be doing this the right way. And I do like the fact that we don't have to be responsible for blown up servers because we have a generator that didn't work exactly right. Or we have imperfect power, which we have here. Because even with a new hospital, if we have imperfect power and a generator has to cycle, you're going to get the same type of hits to the servers, and they can't stand it. So, from my perspective, I think it's time. I don't get a vote, but from my perspective, I think it's time. Other points, other questions?
You don't want CMS, you want a good relationship with that group.
She must have done some research, because that's the thing that finally got my ears perking, and I'm saying, CMS and waiver, and I don't need that right now. I do not need that right now. I don't need people, one government office telling another government office that we can't comply the way we should. Any other points? With that said, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Commission comments. Do we have any comments from any of the commissioners? Start over here.
No comments.
None at this time?
Not at this time.
Chair's comments are brief tonight. The only comments I would have is I continue, as I said last month, I continue to marvel at a staff that has every reason not to perform the way they performing the way they do. I did get a shock with the snow and ice. If we were part of the city, maybe my next call is going to be to the mayor and saying, maybe the city should help us out when our snowplows can't get out to do our driveways. But
the city did come finally.
But to have a maintenance guy to go out and clear the helipad and the parking lot manually says a whole lot for that workforce.
Sure does.
The next workshop is going to be on March the 4th at 12 noon. Our next regular meeting is March the 20th at 6 p.m. Does anyone have anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So done.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
See y'all.